Good morning. Today is the 3rd of July 2024 and I'm going to go through my trading plan for today. And just before we start, let's take a look at the news, what could move the market. Let's go to today. So we had some news come in at 8:30. Didn't have much of a reaction, but we do have some high importance news coming in at 10 AM. And we've got FOMC minutes at 2 PM. So these could move the market today. Just be a bit aware, we've got oil coming in at 10:30 as well if you're in an oil trade. Also it's half day, I think the market closes at 1 PM. So might have light, or most likely will be light volume. Okay, let's open up my pen. I've already got it open. Okay, so yesterday we had this big move up, big strong move, but we had reducing volume as well. So let's just go to the daily, and it could be, in fact we've got holiday volume potentially. So big strong candle, but we had just a small below average volume for that day. If you look at the previous day, we had half a size candle and the same amount, slightly more volume the day before. So potentially showing, it's hard to know because obviously market's closed tomorrow, half day today, so anyone who's going to take a week off would have done it, so the volume's just not there at the moment. But we've not been able to break out of this range. We're still in that range, we're kind of slightly above it, which we're going to in the hourly. But just keep an eye on volume today, because obviously there's not much volume, but the market put in big moves. Let's get back to the hourly. Okay, so we are still playing within this range, which we have been in for some time. We're a little bit outside it now. We broke it once. In fact, my original range, I think I was just using this area here. That's where we were. Potentially, we broke out of the range initially, and then came back in, bounced, and then we broke out of the range. We're back inside it again. So we don't want to get out of this area. So pretty much we've been there now for about, was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks almost, and pretty much the same levels we've been watching. Just keep playing the range. So I'm watching for all-time highs rejection. Haven't quite got there yet. We put in a all-time high on the 20th. Didn't quite do it on the 28th, and then we could technically draw a trend line in, so let's do that now. To see if we have anything significant. We use that pivot. Okay, so we use the bodies of candles. So we could say we're running along that trend line, and we touched it, rejected it, touched it, rejected it, putting in a bit of a double top from yesterday's high as well. Yeah, so I still like this area for rejection, and if we do break down below pre-market high, I quite like the break and retest short to come back down and retest this area of confluence. So zoom in a bit. So I've only just I'm looking at the charts for the first time right now, as I've been out this morning. So what I do quite like this area here for a bounce, and it's an area we've had marked up. We've got bottoms of candles, tops of candles, tops of candles. So tops there, pivots, retest that area as well, pivot as well. So if we can get down to 55.40, 55.44, that region, I quite like the bounce. I've also got 55.50 marked up, and again that's because we've had pivots, 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 pivots. You know, we retested there a couple of times. Bottom candle was the ceiling, became the floor, and then we broke down, came back up, retested that area again there, and then broke down. And then yesterday we kind of broke out, came back down into that region, so not a great retest, but we're above it now. We've yet to retest it again. So 55.50 for a bounce, that area there. 55.42 is another bounce area, and then obviously we've got this region down here, area of demand, and that's between 55.12, 55.16 for a bounce as well, and that's really the only areas, and obviously watching for the rejection up here. If we break this trend line and we break above the pre-market high, I will consider a break and retest long, but we are pretty extended. If you look at the hourly RSI as well, we're right up in the overbought area. Last time we was there, you can see what happened, we pulled right down. Last time we was there, pushed right down, and then last time we was there, big move down as well. So we could, based on the RSI alone, we could say we could expect a bit of a move down. So potentially watching for a rejection really. I do quite like the break and retest of pre-market low, but it's very high risk as it's against the trend as well. And I think that's it. Let's look at SPY next. SPY, same levels for. I do quite like 546.28, 546.50 is probably a better location. That area there for a bounce, similar to ES. This is probably more defined than ES. So watch for a bounce down here. Potential break and retest of pre-market high into the all-time highs, and then if we get down into this area of, let's just mark it off as well, that area of demand, you can see I'll use that pivot there, but it kind of engulfs all of them. I'll watch this area 542.50 for bounce as well. This area, I'm going to get rid of that one, keep it really simple. And that's it, and then obviously we've got this area of demand down at 539, 540 if we ever get down there. So next is SPX. There's really only two key areas we're watching. Main area is 55.50, this region here. If we open below it and we pull up into it, maybe potentially look for a short. If we push above it and come back in, watch for a long, and that would probably be the break and retest of pre-market high on the other charts. And then the other area we're watching is 5400 down here. We're way off from there at the moment, and then we can keep an eye on 54.50 as well, that area of demand which we talked about on the other side, and that's actually yesterday's low as well. See how yesterday came straight into that area as well. So I quite like this area for a bounce, 54.50. I'll be taking it on using ES. So if I feel like we're breaking above and we come back down and retesting 5500, then I'll be looking for longs on ES, but only if ES is also doing something similar, break and retest a pre-market high. And the same if we're looking for a short below yesterday's low or something like that, then I want ES to be below that region as well, because I don't want to be going short into with ES if we are coming into a potential bounce area on ES. So I want them to be in line with each other. Okay, next up is the Nasdaq. Look at that. So we put the trend line in, it broke it, it flipped it basically, came back, touched it directly there, and then rejected. Talk about honouring the trend line, pretty much spot on. So same levels as before. All-time highs, which is at around 23.50 area for a rejection. We've broken down through that area already, looks a bit weaker. So maybe the break and retest of pre-market low, high risk. And then bounces. We've got 20,000 for a bounce, that's yesterday's low area. As a psychological number, but realistically we can be really watching this region here, and the reason I like that region is because we've got a break and retest yesterday, we got a pivot there, we tested it a couple times, two pivots there, and we came down into it, pushed back up into it, so it was the ceiling, then became the floor, and we got lots of touches over here as well. So 20,071 region for a bounce. I can't see anything higher than that, and obviously if we break over pre-market high, then we can watch for the break and retest of pre-market high. QQQ. I do quite like this area here, area confluence, 484.84. Could say it's a bit high risk because we're quite close to it right now. The reason I like it is because we touched it yesterday, came back out before breaking through. We touched it again there. I know we had a pivot break through, couldn't keep it. Got bottoms of these pivots as well, and if we were looking for a high risk bounce, then that's the one I would look for around that area. Otherwise we can watch back down here at 480 for a bounce, and then if we break over pre-market high, watch for the break and retest long. We are back into this trend line, similar as NQ. Came back, and not only did we bounce once, twice, 3 times and then break through, we came back and we tested it and then potentially breaking down from it. So if we do go long pre-market high, we haven't got much until we get to all-time high, so we could expect a bit of a reaction all-time high. But there's not that many levels really to watch. I quite like the bounce down at 480, and that's because we've got the point of control down here as well, area confluence, and it's yesterday's low as well. Next up is crude oil. So we broke out. Let's get my pen. So we broke out, came back and retested this area, and we bounced. And that's the area I said I was watching. This area here really. If we break pre-market high, I do quite like the break and retest long. If we lose pre-market low, yesterday low, I'm not a big fan of a rejection, but I do quite like the bounce at 82.41, or if we get to the 200 moving average, meets up 8200, 8200 around that area. And that's it really. I don't really fancy any rejections unless, let's have a look. A bigger picture. Okay, we've got this big area of confluence we talked about yesterday as well. So we've got all the bottoms of pivots there, tops of that major pivot, and we came in, we couldn't quite get through it, came back, pushed through it, and then we rejected. So keep an eye on this area again, 83.65 to 84 for rejection. Next is gold. It's been hard trying to play gold recently. You can see it flipping channels. You can see it's coming into this held this channel, and then come down, held that channel, flipped up, back down to that channel, or these levels. You can draw boxes around them, and now we've finally broken out again. We talked about watching for the breakout. You can draw a trend line in there as well, and you can see we broke out, retested, pushed out. So that's kind of the pattern we could be watching, and it's in, I always like to see whether it's in the upper part of these patterns, as you can see there, and then it broke out, so that means it's more likely to break out as well. And it's with the trend. We had this nice big double bottom. Oh, we had this double bottom here, break of the trend line. We broke once, come back in, tested the trend line, so we know it's still valid, tested it, hovered around it, broke above it, retested it again, and then we started putting in this pattern before we finally broke out. So let's get some levels for today. I like the rejection up here at 23.80, this region here for the rejection. If we pull back down into yesterday's high, I quite like the bounce in that region as well. So that will technically be the break and retest of that level. I think that's probably the best bounce. That's with the trend as well. And we could go for a break and retest of pre-market high. Be quite hard to, it's quite far away from where we are from yesterday, but how extended are we? Yeah, we are quite far away from the 20 moving average, the 50 and the 200, so it might be hard to go long. but I prefer to pull back into those areas for the long. And RSI, we are a little bit overextended right now, so maybe a bit of a pullback could be due. And I think that's it really. So let's look at the next chart. We've got 15 minutes before the market opens. So this is the Dow Jones. If we can get above these two pivots, pre-market high, then the only trade I can see is a break and retest of pre-market high. This level here up. First target can be 40,000, psychological number, and it's also, we came into that once. That's a bit of a area of confidence as well. So maybe a break and retest of 40,000, or we can watch it for the rejection. And then if we break down, I quite like the bounce down by yesterday's low down to 39,350 for the bounce as well. There's nothing else really I like here. Maybe a trend line bounce as well. Next up is Bitcoin. I missed one. No, that's it. Did I do the Russell 2000? Oh, no, I don't think we did. Maybe I think I skipped that one. So you see this is the Russell 2000 putting in a bit of a curve in bottom, and I'm waiting for it to break the trend line, come back in for the retest. That's the only play I like. Maybe consider a break and retest of pre-market high into this trend line, and that trend line will coincide with this recent pivot as well. If we get back down into this region, which is 2038, we can watch out for a bounce as well. But it's going to be hard because we've got the point of control down in this region as well. So we could use this as a natural stop and look for a long. Like I said, I do like the fact it's curving around, but we want to see it break out, come back in and retest that level. That's what I'm watching for. Okay, so next is Bitcoin. It's given it up again. It tried to break the trend, held it for a day, and boom, back down. So we're coming back into a bounce area, 58,000. So watch this area for a bounce. And then I quite like 54,000, 53. Hang on. Let's go into the daily. So we know where we get these values from. So the next decent area, even that 53, I'm not the biggest fan of. That's probably taking in the pivots over here, but I'm taking in more recent times pivots. It's going to be this region, so I quite like this region. I think one. This region here for a bounce, and that's probably by no coincidence 49, let's say 50,000. So let's just draw this level at 50,000. So that's the area I like for a bounce, and maybe to buy more long-term Bitcoin. If we can get down to that region, oh, that's a big line. So watching it come down into this 50,000 area. That's the area we talked about before, and I'm watching 40,000 as well. As if we were to day trade it, we've got the bounce down here on the 200 moving average. That's 58,900, 60,000. So this is the region to watch for a bounce around here. And then if we can eventually break this daily pivot, then a break and retest along. Excuse me. Back to the hourly. Yeah, so the only place I watch for a bounce will be 58,900 for a bounce at region. And there's not much confidence. In fact, if you were to draw a line where it's got the most touches, you can see this area here as well. So we've broken through. So maybe if it comes back up into that trend line, we can look for the rejection back down as well. So let's quickly look at ES order flow. So what ES has been in the last few minutes. Not much, a little bit of a pullback. So I'm flicking over to my order flow screen.